Welcome back to Hidden Potential Podcast. I'm your host, Homer Hargrove, and I know what you're thinking. Where have you been? I've been out in hiatus for 2 months, and I want to let you know that I had some different family things going on at one after another, and rather than just trying to push through and continue as if everything was normal, I just decided that I need to hold off on certain things so that I could focus on where I was needed, and that was with my family. And so I know that you guys are understanding, and that you guys a lot of you guys were praying for me and my family during those different times. I'm so grateful for y'all, but let's see if we can get back in the rhythm of these podcast episodes, and I appreciate for those of y'all who've been waiting urgently, and those of y'all who are just now joining in. So with all that being said, today, we're diving into something that every leader wrestles with, and even if we don't necessarily always say it out loud, and that is, what do you do when someone on your team is better at something than you? Do you feel insecure when that happens? Do you lean into it? Do you empower them to lead, to shine, to thrive? Or do you kick them out and move them along somewhere else so that they don't overshadow you? See, this is the episode where it's all about letting go of comparison and control so that you can step into the kind of leadership that multiplies impact instead of bottlenecking it. And because confident leaders don't just build followers, they build other leaders. So let's get into it. The first thing that we need to talk about is really unpacking the insecurity trap. I think that if we're being honest with ourselves, most of us have felt a little uneasy when someone comes along who's more talented in an area than we are in, that we might have even led at some point. And maybe you've always been the go-to for the person that has creative ideas, and then someone joins the team with some fresher, sharper ideas. Or maybe you're the communicator and someone else starts getting more compliments on their delivery. And maybe they're younger, faster, more tech savvy, or maybe they're just better at something. And for me, I've definitely been in the chair where I was the younger person coming in and made different older people feel uncomfortable. And that's happened to me a lot of times. I think that's why God blessed me with gray hair, so that people think that I'm older than I really am. And there's been so many times where they say there's even like an open discussion for the team to be able to share, and I would be able to share some ideas that even other people in the room was like, oh yeah, that's true, that's a good idea. And then the person that was older in charge is like, well, yeah, we could do that, but, and they start listing all these problems, not because they were necessarily like legitimate problems, but because they didn't it was very obvious that they didn't like this fresh perspective. They liked how they had built and did things. They didn't want to change the structure that they have formed, and it made them uncomfortable. And I could go on and on about different times where, for me, again, on the other side of it, where I literally felt like my voice was pushed down and shut out. I remember a time where I was literally asked to share a message less than 24 hours of the event. And when they announced that I was going to share the message, they told everybody else in the room, yeah, they're going to probably fail. And it was like, whoa, like, chill out. Like this, you're going to give me no time to prep and then assume that I'm going to fail. I ended up crushing it. I did really good. They never asked me to do a message again. They never asked me to do a talk after that. And it goes to this idea of when we're in charge and we feel intimidated by someone else. Well, now on the other end, I'm generally the point of contact for the different things that I manage that include other people. And there's plenty of times where even now, where I've seen other people kind of rise to the top, those leaders rise to the top, and it's this moment where they start getting these compliments, they start getting the recognition. It's no longer just centered around me, like, wow, I can't believe how much you do, but they're getting now these other people that are in a sense like rubbing shoulders with the the normies per se are getting those compliments that maybe you once got. And in that moment, you can do one of two things. It can trigger that insecurity that most of us as leaders feel and make us feel like we have to guard against our position. What a lot of people will do is they will start eliminating that person's voice or shucking them off because they feel intimidated that they're going to lead people astray. Especially in the church world, it could get really, really ugly and toxic like that. But you could do that, but it's not going to be beneficial to your team. It's not going to be beneficial to you. Or you can it can remind you that leadership isn't about being the best at everything. It's about helping the team win. It's about moving the mission forward. The insecure leader says, I need to be the smartest person in the room. But the confident leader says, I want the right people in the room. Even if they're better than me in some ways, I just want the right people in the room. And it's this idea of recognizing that we all have strengths and weaknesses. That's obvious. Nothing's wrong with that. And when you're really leading from a place of insecurity, there's like these warning signs that your leadership will, in a sense, show. It's this stuff that's coming from a place of fear, this place of insecurity instead of confidence and trust. You might start avoiding giving real ownership to others. You'll delegate tasks, but you won't delegate authority. You give people things to do, but not the freedom on how they do those things. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not this. It's not that you can't tell people how something should look as a result. If someone's doing something the wrong way, there's nothing wrong with saying like, hey, it should be done like this. This should be the end result. But it's this idea to where people are always having to ask you, what should we do next? How should I do this? And you're almost like this mommy daddy figure that everyone has to ask permission for. Number two is that you downplay others' strengths. You get uncomfortable when someone else shines, and instead of celebrating them, you subtly dismiss their ideas or you shift the credit. Maybe you even like look at some of their faults, like, yeah, but they do this. And it's almost like uncomfortable for you to allow others to just have a moment to shine, allow them to take this glory moment. Or number three, maybe you micromanage talented people. You keep a tight grip on everything, not because they're doing it wrong, but because you feel unsure of your place if you're not in control. If you've ever been in a place, I think about these times where I was within different organizations, and if the head person did not know everything that was going on, they would get really upset. They would even come to the teams and say like, well, how come I didn't know about this? And at first glance, people felt like almost bad, like, oh, well, we weren't trying to exclude you. We just thought you were, busy with other things. And they were just like, well, I should know about these things. I'm the one in charge. I'm the one leading. And it made people feel uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, the more that I lead, the more I actually don't want to manage. It's a blessing to not have to micromanage people. To be able to say like, hey, take this and do whatever you want as long as this happens. That is. If you have people that you can delegate that to, that is a wonderful, beautiful thing. I strive, just like within my church, I strive to have these moments where when people come to me and ask a question, I love it when I can say, I don't know. I don't know how they do that anymore. Why don't you go ask so-and-so? They're the one in charge of that. It's that idea of not having to be concerned about every single detail, but allow yourself to trust other people with those details. And if there's pieces that get dropped along the way, you go to that person and say, hey, look, you're doing a great job, but look, let's make sure that this doesn't happen next time. Okay, can you handle that? However you go about fixing it, that's fine with me. If you need help, if you need advice, guidance, sure, ask me, but I trust you to be able to handle this. See, if you find yourself doing any of the things that we talked about, you need to take a breath. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad leader. It just means that it's time to grow into your next level of a leader. And that is being able to trust and have confidence in others. Confidence in yourself to lead others. So now let's talk about the power of empowering others. And here's the truth. When you empower people who are gifted in ways that you are not, everybody wins. You gain more capacity. The team becomes stronger. The mission moves faster. And here's what else happens. You build loyalty. When people feel trusted and believed in, they don't want to leave. They feel like they're empowered, their purpose is being fulfilled, and they want to stay and build with you. And a little saying that I like to consider for myself, whenever I'm doing something, I'll ask myself, is this something that anybody could do, or is this something that just I can do? And if it's something that's kind of like a low barrier of entry, I will try to find other people to fill these roles. And even if it's as simple as like setting up for a church service, even though I would love to be the one to just get the chairs and do like the hard labor things, I've had to come to a point where I can have confidence in my team to do things like that. Well, maybe if I have to work on the media stuff, I can get the computer's connection. I noticed that if I just went to go get the chairs because I knew that, well, these things are heavy, I don't want anyone else lifting these chairs, and I just go do that, and all of a sudden people are standing around the computer looking at it and thinking, well, I don't know how to connect this stuff. And I ended up being a disservice to them because now everything is slower behind since I didn't have the only thing that I could do worked on this. And on top of that, is even me training somebody else to lead that, to where now there's a person there that can plug everything in. They know what knobs to turn, what technical equipment needs to be plugged where, to where I'm not having to hover, but I can do the things that only I can do. And when you do this, you're not just it's not just shucking off duties, tasks, responsibilities. You're giving other people purpose within the mission of whatever your organization is. And so when I allow other people to be delegated, to take ownership, to have this level of authority within the organization, now they become contributors to this mission. They are feeling connected to the very purpose, to where they are aligned with the difference that it's making. And it's impactful. When you don't allow people to have that sense of purpose and connection, they will feel unfulfilled. They will feel unsatisfied with their role, and they will look for somewhere else to go so that they can feel that fulfillment. That's really why we're alive, right? Is to feel that sense of purpose. And when we refuse to trust others, to delegate actual ownership to other people, especially when they have better skills than us, they will simply leave to find a place where they can be celebrated instead of pressed down and held back. Again, you want to be. It's not about being a perfect leader. It's about being a secure leader. One who says, "I see your strengths. I trust your judgments. Let's build this together." And it's that kind of leadership that multiplies influence. And so I want you to consider how to empower without losing your role. Empowering others doesn't mean that you just disappear. It means that you're shifting roles from doing everything to developing others who can do even more. And that empowers you to do more, to go on to your next step. It's the idea of almost like replacing yourself so that you can also go to the next level. So you need to know your lane. You need to be clear about what only you need to do and release the rest. You also need to call out strengths publicly. Celebrate other people's wins in front of others. It helps build trust. It helps build momentum. One of our values is to always appreciate those who participate. And it's simply giving this acknowledgement of this, what is the work that is being done. You want to create real spaces, not just symbolic roles. You let them own decisions, not just tasks. Give them room to fail and succeed. Consider for yourself, like if you were were you really perfect? Like at the beginning of your leadership, most of us didn't know really what we were doing, and we're just kind of showing up and figuring things out. We've all made mistakes, so allow other people to make mistakes too. We can put guardrails in place where they're not these detrimental mistakes that ruin the organization, but allow them to learn from these mistakes too, and they'll get better at it. And all of this to say, to keep the mission louder than your ego. Remember, it's not about you looking good. It's about the mission moving forward. How can we move forward better, faster, more effectively, more efficiently? The only way to do that is to allow other people into these roles and responsibilities to where they can lead confidently. Imagine a train conductor that is trying to load the coal. I'm thinking like an old school train, but like trying to load the coal at the same time as working in the caboose and in the front. And it's like, there's no way one person would be able to just operate like that. In the same way, that's what it's like when we're trying to man everything as a leader, is that we slow everything down in the process. And there's so many idle hands that are waiting to do something, and we're not empowering them to do it. And they will leave to go do something else. Who wants to sit around waiting? You're going to end up with an organization of waiters. And again, I'm not trying to bash any type of personality or direction, but you don't want your company or organization filled with people who are okay with the bare minimum, who are okay with just collecting the paycheck and going home, and I put in my hours today. That's all you're going to be left with. All of your great leaders are going to leave to a place where they can be empowered. So here's some closing thoughts. The bottom line is, if you're the most capable person in every room you lead, you're not leading. You're limiting. Your job as a leader is to see potential, develop it, and release it, even when it means someone else outshining you in certain areas. That's not a threat. That is the goal. And you shouldn't be intimidated. You should be inspired. So if someone on your team is better than you at something, thank God. It means that your team just got stronger. Okay. So all that being said, I was really excited to do this remerging episode, this bring back our podcast. And I hope that this message helped reframe how you view your role as a leader. That I pray that you could share it with someone who needs it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a rating review for this podcast. It really helps me out, helps other people to see the show. Be able to share this show in their feed. Share it on your social media and let them know he's back. He's back after being missing. He's back. But until next time, have a great life. Well, there you have it. I hope that this episode was meaningful and edifying for your leadership and your growth within your ministry and organization. Could you do me a favor? Could you leave a rating and review for this podcast? It'd really help me out and help others be able to see this show in their feed. You can also visit homerhargrove.com to be able to learn more, connect, or become one of our supporters. Until next time, have a great life.